right, and we are back with Rick. Rick, what's up, dude?
Hey, not much. Happy 4th. How are you doing?
Happy 4th. Happy 250.
Big day.
I was going to say, what did you do for the 4th? But we hung out. We hung out on the 4th. So I know what you did.
Yeah, we hung out. Got to see the Boston fireworks, which was nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful for the people who were actually on the river, though, because they did like a Amber Alert, but for a thunderstorm. And man, imagine you're there and you get an Amber Alert. You're probably scared, so scared. Like, it was awful.
Yeah, I thought that was way overboard, honestly. Because we were just hanging out and we both got, the alert going off on our phone. And it said, evacuate the Esplanade, like, find shelter now. And we're like, oh, there has to be a terrorist threat or something.
Of course, like a bomb threat or something.
It was just a brief thunderstorm.
But literally lasted for like maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. No, that didn't show the, I say Boston bravery well. Run, it's raining.
No.
Which,
bit of an overreaction.
Yeah, well, welcome to 2026. No, I mean, it was fun, though. I mean, I went to Gloucester, Mass, which does their 4th of July on the 3rd, where they do their fireworks and parade and stuff. And it was great. I love Gloucester, and I love that parade. It was, I was telling you about it yesterday, but it was cracking me up because, they do the parade, and oftentimes, like, politicians will march in the parade and they hand out candy or whatever, it's all for fun. And usually in the Gloucester parade, it's pretty neutral. Like, it's mixed. Like, it's not like only the conservatives show up to the Gloucester parade or whatever. It's whoever. It's a very lighthearted affair. Like, it's not a serious parade. It's just fun. And it's mostly for kids, right? The Shriners made a huge appearance this year. They had, like, I've never seen this many Shriners. And they all their little hats on. And
yeah, they live among us, apparently.
Apparently, and they're all in the Aleppo Shiners. They all wear that little, like, Turkish little hat thing, or Syrian, I guess, if it's Aleppo. But, like, I don't know. But anyways, I was cracking up because everyone's having a fun time. They're playing all this dance music. Everyone's dancing. And then all of a sudden, the mood goes down completely. And who is it? It's the Rockport Democrats. There's just these old dudes in button-downs frowning as they walk, saying, protest is patriotism, like, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I get it, obviously. We have this whole show. We get it. But it's just, like, immediately following them was the dude running for governor of Mass, the Republican candidate. And he's playing, like, reggae music. And everyone starts dancing and doing, like, a conga dance. And I'm just like, we got to work on our PR, guys. The Rockport Democrats could not be more of a tough hang.
Yeah, Democrats got to work on vibes in general.
Big
but
time.
that's a good example. Especially, it's understandable, too, because Democrats are so overly confident in Massachusetts, especially with, like, the governor's race or stuff, but you got to be aware of the bad vibes who put it out there.
Well, it's not a protest, it's a parade. We're trying to have some fun. I mean, it's literally all kids. Do you have to sulk down the street? I get it that the country is having a rough go, obviously. And I get that it's really hard to be, like, jokey when it's so depressing, the country falling apart. But I mean, God damn it, read the room, Rockport Democrats. I mean, they just play a song at least. You can't just silent march in a button down in 100-degree weather. You look like...
Yeah, no way.
And for a lot of people, you and I were talking about this yesterday, but, like, most people aren't politically engaged. Like, they don't care about politics. That's the vast majority of Americans, for better or for worse. Definitely for worse. But that's just the truth. So genuinely, and this isn't a good thing, this is just a real thing. This is like how people get impressions of politics. Like, they go to an event, they see someone waving, they meet a guy once, they meet a woman once, and, like, you literally heard groans in the crowd, like, the fucking Dems. And it was just like, I don't blame. If you didn't know anything about anything, like, you were an alien and you dropped down and you saw the Rockport Democrats, and you saw that dude running for governor, I'd be like, I like that guy, because he just sounds more fun. And people vote like that. It's so stupid. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is the real world.
Totally. And me and you actually, I think, marched in that parade when we worked on a campaign for governor many years ago, 12 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember similarly, we were working for an independent, vibes were high, and Charlie Baker was running for the first time. His vibes are pretty high. Martha Coakley, the Democrat nominee, the vibes were not high. So this is kind of a consistent issue.
just seems to, and people go, we don't like them, and they go, why? And they look at them and then just, and it's a terrible, and I get it. Like, I'm not trying to say I don't get it. I obviously get it. And it doesn't really matter. It shouldn't really matter, but they do matter. That's how a lot of people vote. And yeah, it was just cracking me up because usually you don't see it just like back to back like that. It's more just like conceptual or like on Twitter or whatever. You know, it's not just boom, boom. And they had their little, I did like the Rockport Democrats lobster. They had a little blue lobster as their logo. I did like that.
Nice.
Anyways, that was my fourth. It was fun though. But before we get into the American 250 chaos, effectively, it was a big flop. I mentioned this on the Wednesday show a little bit, like off the top of the show, but I really want to hear your thoughts about this because a lot of people I talk to, a lot of people, you know, just in general, I know especially are having a hard time feeling even an iota of patriotism given the current state of affairs of the country. And frankly, how much damage the U.S. is wrecking on like not just itself, but the rest of the world. But there's also the other school of thought of just like, don't let Trump ruin it. You know, like if you let it make it about him, he wins kind of thought. And I kind of lean towards the second camp, obviously understanding the first camp of thought. But I'm just curious how you think about this stuff, because it's definitely been on my mind, obviously, with the 250 and just in general.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good topic. I mean, I think like for a lot of people like our generation that kind of became politically aware at the end of George W. Bush's administration, he really reclaimed, you know, patriotism to be about like American power and exerting our, you know, military power on the world and stuff. So I feel like it's easy for like liberals to get like anti-patriotic is a bit strong, but just feeling, like you said, like not great about the whole message.
Yeah, totally.
But like, yeah, I do think it's kind of the responsibility of progressive leaders to like map out like why it's okay to be proud to be an American, and that doesn't mean you're proud of the worst parts of America. It means you're proud of the best parts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, totally. And I mean, a good example of what I don't think is the right answer is, so I don't know if you follow the news site Zeteo, which is Mehdi Hassan's channel, which I generally like Mehdi. I'm pro Mehdi. I think he's a good journalist. I'm glad he exists to just be annoying and push people to get the right thing.
For sure.
I'm glad that's a role that exists. But they put out a piece yesterday that was like 250 years of cruelty and misery and like blah, 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 blah. And they're not wrong. Right? You can look at what America did to the Native Americans and the colony, like slavery and all of that awful thing. And I'm not at all trying to say we should gloss over that awful, awful part of our history. Obviously not. I do also think, kind of to the first point, like, you're fucking buzzkill, man. You know what I mean? Can you calm down for just a second? And also, it's part of this hard, and it's really a nuanced and difficult conversation because, like, it's the general vibe of a lot of modern Democrats is that they get called for calling people racist too much or homophobic too much or blah, blah, blah. And people get really defensive and then take a defensive posture and then double dip into a MAGA, which is awful, which is even worse. So I appreciate that they're literally right, but the effects of the way they're messaging is potentially making things worse, even if they're pointing out the right thing. And I feel that kind of captures a lot of this messaging in the background. And I think people who do a good job of this is a Zoran type, who's just super positive. Remember, she was the president of positivity? That was when she was actually doing well. You know, I actually think that needs to be more of it. And it's a really difficult task to not run away from the problems while also not bumming people out because they're kind of like, what are you supposed to do? But anyway, yeah, what do you think about this? Because I do feel like this is such a good moment to kind of reflect on this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I really like how like Obama would, his speeches phrase this type of stuff. And Zoran did it similarly yesterday where like they are proud of the revolution and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence while acknowledging we have not lived up to those ideals throughout the U.S. history, right? Obviously, all men being created equal, that didn't happen.
That being a tough one, yeah. The reverse with slaves, yeah.
But at the same time, like, Zoran phrased it great yesterday of, like, the idea of America is, it's like a never-ending quest for progress towards that ideal. It's not disavowing all those ideals of the revolution and the idea that we're a nation of immigrants that's built on like a shared ideology, you know, of freedom and all that stuff, versus like the most cynical people on the left, which would just say like we have to disavow everything that the founders ever said because of the negatives, you know, the racism and all that stuff. Like, I think of it more as like we're still on the quest to achieve what the founders wanted to achieve. I think the flip side is Trump saying make America great again, right? Implying that we were fully achieved the epitome of freedom at some point in the past, and then the liberals and communists came and took that away from us, and we need to go back to that time where racism was more accepted. You know?
Basically where you could like grope women and be racist.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
The 50s. He just wants to go back to the 50s. Yeah.
That's the other extreme. But yeah, I thought Mamdani's speech was great, and it just reminded me of the type of message that presidents used to try to say, whereas Trump has abandoned even trying to be like the president of all people.
No, it does feel like Biden was kind of the last gasp of that, literally. Like, and hopefully we can go back to it. Yeah, I just think it's more nuanced than sometimes you hear people talk about. Well, both sides, but like you can feel. I mean, maybe I'm a homer for the U.S. You know, maybe I'm just a homer. But like when you live abroad, you've lived abroad, I've lived abroad. You do feel a little bit like, all right, calm down now. Like you feel a little bit of, national pride a little bit because you start like thinking about yourself. Well, also not being an ignorant idiot about all the awful things that actually have happened with war and violence and slavery and all that stuff. So I'm not trying to belittle any of that. I actually think it's a big mistake to lean away from that. I think with Trump clearly trying really hard to ruin so many of the constitutional and American systems at play, that like Democrats have a really strong opportunity to rebrand themselves as a pro-patriotic, pro-American party and like loving the American system. And I think that would play really well.
Yeah,
nationwide.
Definitely.
And I think they've never had a better opportunity because Trump is so anti the country, So I think it's a bad idea to pull away from patriotism right now for the Democratic side. I think they should do what Zoran did and lean into it and tell the story correctly.
Yeah, 100%, totally.
And anyway, so we should get to the American 250. I saw someone write the Great American Meltdown, which made me laugh. But so they were supposed to have a parade in Philly and D.C. Yesterday for the 250 anniversary. It actually got canceled due to the heat, 115, which kind of unbelievable that the 250th parade got canceled. It's kind of sad. Some people are saying it was because of the attendance being so low. And again, I feel the same way with this. I saw people writing in talking like, oh, isn't it great how Trump's parade is flopping? And like, I feel very mixed about it. Look, I'm happy that Trump's parade is flopping, but I'm sad that the America 250 parade is a Trump parade that flopped,
Right.
Like, we're not going to be real. We'll be 80 at the 300. Like this,
Right.
it could have been really fun. Imagine if it was like a good president and we're all excited. Like, that would have been great. Like, I hate that that's I hate being I told you so-y, like, at this moment, even though I am happy it did flop. In the long run.
100%. Because it's Trump's fault for making everything about himself.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
100%.
it's not progressives' fault for wanting his rallies to fail just because he tries to brand them as America celebrations or whatever. It's Trump's fault for being such a crazy narcissist. And even on his July 4th speech, 250 years, he's complaining how poorly he's been treated.
I know. How Colbert is getting bad ratings and he's not a good guy. Just like, well, we'll play some clips too from his Mount Rushmore speech, which he did a couple of days ago. I think he did it on the 3rd, right? And he's just a psychopath, man. So, yeah, it's the separation of church and state in the sense of, like, it's the separation of Trump to the U.S. And it's really hard, though, to separate civilians from government when, like, the civilians did vote for the government, but the government doesn't necessarily. It's a mental map. I thought this clip that I'm about to show really captured the vibe of the 250 fair. So let me show you this bad boy. You may have already seen it because it went a little viral. But take a look at this bad boy. This is in D.C. yesterday or 2 days ago.
Oh my God.
It's awful.
Is that guy okay?
I don't know. I hope he's all right. But if there isn't anything about him playing Proudly Stand Up as he face plants into the fucking tent. Should we play it one more time? I feel bad for the guy, but it's just, they can't get anything right, these guys. They can't even do the parachute. Let's play this one more. Oh, it's brutal.
The guy yelling, "Oh my God," is so funny.
That's what I laughed at the
As
first.
he starts to,
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ!
It's like a SpongeBob. I hope
It looks like a Jackass bit
Yeah, it looks.
of like we're doing the broken parachute.
And I proudly stand up. If that isn't a perfect symbol for what the hell this whole thing is like. Patriotic music blaring as man falls face first into tarp.
What a disaster.
What a nightmare.
Sadly, too, if you're talking about like who's controlling the narrative of July 4th, so many of these patriotic celebrations were canceled, and yet the white nationalist group Patriot Front did not cancel. They marched through Washington, D.C. with 400 people wearing the creepiest white masks you've ever seen.
Yeah, should I pull that up to show people? Because that is so creepy. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, and like just a refresher, this is a group that was a rebrand after the 2017 Charlottesville Unite the Right rally. They used to be called Vanguard America, and then all the bad press from them rightfully being outed as neo-Nazis in 2017 made them change their name to Patriot Front. Weirdly enough, they're super prominent in Boston.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, like they've had a lot of like protests in Boston and a lot of arrests, and DC too. But yeah, these are like the most out there right wing. Like these are people that obviously vote for Trump, but think that Trump isn't nearly anti-immigrant enough. If so, that to give our listeners an idea
of where they live,
how crazy these people are. And one thing they say, so this is like from the Patriot Front's official website of what they believe. They say membership within the American nation is inherited through blood, not ink. Even those born in America may yet be foreign. Nationhood cannot be bestowed upon those who are not of the founding stock of our people, and those who do not share the common spirit that permeates our greater civilization and the European diaspora. You know, so these are like hardcore white nationalists who have some like idealized image of our European ancestors, and that's what unites them. And obviously it's incredibly ironic that they think the most important foundation of America is our European ideas. Like, I understand the history there, but these people are completely out of their minds, and they're terrified of being doxxed and identified. So, like, they obsessively plan these protests in terms of the masks they wear and like how they get in and get out without their faces being seen.
I remember a certain group, 100 years ago, who wore a white outfit to disguise who they were when they marched for white nationalism. I think they were called the KKK. This is just modern KKK. Like, that's the best way to put it, I think, right? Like, this is just what the KKK would look like, or does look like, frankly, in 2026, in a lot, even though it's not technically the same group. Because I think the KKK does exist in the backgrounds. Is David Duke still alive? The wizard?
I forget. He was as of like a few years ago.
He always usually endorses
claimed
Trump.
He was reformed.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, did he reform?
I mean, I think KKK they think they got a bad rep, so they had to change up the lingo, but they're effectively the same.
He's still kicking. He's 76.
Wow.
What party do you think he is registered to?
No idea. Yeah, could be anyone.
I wonder who. It's the Republican Party. I wonder why. Anyway, so it was a wild weekend, and so like I mentioned a second ago, not to that camp, but Trump was at Mount Rushmore on the 3rd to give another speech because I think they were realizing that the 4th was going to get canned because people didn't want to show up and it was really hot out. So he gave his speech at Mount Rushmore, and it's a very long speech, as Trump speeches often are. He tends to go and go and go, which, to be fair, you got to give it to him. The man can ramble for an unbelievable amount of time. Not many people can ramble that long, like without feeling like, all right, I think I said everything I want to say. This dude can go on and on and on. So I'm not going to play the whole clip because it's literally so long. I literally just clicked halfway through, and I feel like we could just watch a couple of minutes because, I mean, maybe I got a good spot. I put a pause. So anyway, I just figured we should watch some clips because I've seen the, quotes that have come out of the speech, but it's always nice to just see Trump doing his thing out there, being a maniac. But yeah, so here he is. Here he is himself, the Orange Man. All right, let's play.
Anniversary, we see our American identity under a renewed attack. A generation after we fought and won the Cold War against the menace of communism, there is now a resurgence of the communist menace in our land, including from newcomers to our country who embrace ideas totally opposed to our way of life and our great success. These are not mere political disagreements like differences over taxes or regulations. Communism is a mortal threat to American liberty. It is the greatest threat to our country, including World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or even 9/11. We're not going to let this happen to us. Believe me, we're not letting it happen.
Whoa, I have a lot of thoughts. We got a good clip. That was a good one that we pulled, but
it is so obvious how, I mean, first of all, he's like struggling to read the teleprompter, and it's so obvious what is his ad libs and improv versus like as terrible as that message was, it was 99% clearly written by a speechwriter, right?
Stephen Miller or whatever. Yeah.
Using like grammar structure that he would never use in an ad lib. But then the one thing he ad libs is they don't like good. Which is like one of the dumbest sentences I've ever heard.
Or that it hasn't worked for thousands of years, even though, like, I'm pretty sure Karl Marx was alive like 150 years ago. Like, I don't think communism's been around that long. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But I think more importantly, it shows you that this is where they're going. This is the new, like, it's not, they keep dipping in the playbook to try to find something to rally the troops, so to speak. And it seems like they're going full Reagan now. Like, they keep trying to find something. Is it Iran? Is it whatever? Is it immigrants? Is it LGBT, trans people, whatever, like gay rights? Who is the enemy, right? And they keep kind of having to move it as the people change their minds once they realize that it's actually not those guys. And now it's communist, I think. And they're going to use Zoran and the DSA people as the kind of evil now. I think this is the full, I mean, it's a big speech, right? The July 4th speech. So, like, it seems like that's the new target. What do you think about that?
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say similar to what you said. Like, they're throwing shit at a wall because his popularity is tanking, and their own polling is telling them the midterms are not going to go well for them. And the only thing they have is that they think is still popular is being anti-immigrant and anti-communism. And you saw that in the speech of him trying to connect those two things, right? Like, the problem is with immigrants who are bringing in these communist ideas.
Yep.
Because they know that one of the only popular policies they have is like securing the border, popular being like over 50%. Whereas these left-wing policies like taxing the rich more and giving people healthcare and childcare are super popular. So like they have to do something. And I'm seeing it as kind of a good sign because it shows some amount of desperation that they're going back to the Reagan, just call everyone a communist because communist equals bad.
Yeah, Red Scare, McCarthyism type.
Right.
I mean, they've been doing that already, but I mean, yeah.
Right. Like if the LGBT attacks were working more, they would be tripling down on those more. Totally. And I think they are just not working.
Yeah, because they got rid of all the programs and the economy sucks. So clearly it wasn't that. Gas prices are high and gay people are getting no programs. So I thought, what happened? You know what I mean? Like that was the whole story.
Right. They have the most incompetent administration of all time after allegedly getting rid of DEI.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They went to merit-based and elected Pete Hegseth. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and Pam Bondi. So, I mean, yeah. No, for sure. It also, and people really get turned off whenever I talk political jargon and stuff like this, so I'm probably going to annoy a couple of listeners as I say this out loud, but this anti-communism rhetoric is the same rhetoric that fascist leaders used when they rose to power, before they attacked any racial group. Like, the Nazis attacked Jews the most, which, of course, is the whole point of them, but Mussolini and Franco and stuff like that, like, they were anti-communists more than anything else. And then the other stuff was secondary. Like, speaking more on fascism and not Nazism. I know that's going to... The fact that I even mentioned this is going to infuriate anyone. Not even calling anyone anything. I'm just giving political history. But anyway, and my point is just not again saying communism is good or whatever, or Trump is this or that. I'm not even saying anything at all. It's just these talking points specifically about communism is historically rooted initially in the pre-World War II European era. And it then got coupled into the anti-Soviet kind of Red Scare kind of thing. But everyone also knows that that wasn't like communism because there was a guy in charge. And that kind of is against the point of it all. But anyways, I don't know. I really don't like political ideology being at the heart of attacks. I think no matter what you think, if you want to say people shouldn't be calling people fascists and stuff like that, I can get behind that. But you also then have to agree that calling people communists like this is also bad. If you are defining communism as Mao Zedong and Joseph Stalin.
100%. And the fact, it should be noted too, like Trump is the most pro-Putin president we've ever had since Putin has been in power.
Xi Jinping's ass for a whole weekend, just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but there's a good quote that I'm gonna butcher, but it's like people that say all these countries that murdered millions of people were communists because they called themselves that is just like China and North Korea calling themselves democracies or republics, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
You can't take a genocidal dictator's word for it when they say I identify as this. Like, it means nothing,
100%. Yeah. I mean, countries call themselves, it's called the People's Republic of China. Would you call it the People's Republic? I mean, it just
right. Like, should we be against democratic republics like the United States because China is bad and they call themselves one?
Exactly. It's just so dumb. And I've tried to lean off of calling people fascist, communist, all this stuff in general, because I just think it isn't productive. I think it's just more historically interesting that this is just kind of how people tend to frame things when they use these types of things, more than calling someone specifically one thing or the other. And when does that work? A phantom enemy. It's always a phantom enemy with these guys. It's they're stealing this, they're taking this, they're coming after us. So the question is, this is just, and then again, I know I'm being a little annoying here, but okay, so NATO is bad. He hates NATO. So he hates European systems. They're commies in his head. Canada, commie. We don't like Canada. The Democrats are commies. They're all commies. The immigrants are commies. The trans gay people, they're commies. China is commie. Russia, I like? Question mark, question. They like? Question mark, question mark. Viktor Orban, okay. The Argentinian guy, they like. So the only people that align with American values are Russia, an ousted guy in Hungary, Emirati kings and Gulf leader kings, and a guy in Argentina. That's it. That's the enemy. Everyone else is the enemy. Who isn't what he's saying? It's getting to the point now where it's getting to be such a narrow definition of what it means to be American that okay, so you have to be white, an evangelical white man, which Trump already now doesn't fit. So which is like the thing these dictators always do. They don't actually fit the description of the role model that they want. So you have to be a white evangelical who lives in the US, born of European descent, and agrees with Trump completely. Everything else, get out of here. Is that right? Am I being too harsh when I say that? If NATO doesn't count, if Canada doesn't count, then who counts?
Right. No, I totally agree. And it's not new. I think the new wrinkle is Trump defining a communist as anybody that doesn't agree with me today. Like that's the new. It used to be anybody left of me is a communist, and you saw that when Obama was running in 2008. People called him a communist, right?
Yeah.
And mainstream Republicans called him a communist, not like only alt-right crazies. But Trump's narcissism takes it to a new level where it's really like these leaders that actually supported the Soviet Union are not communists. They're actually nice guys because we get along.
Putin was in the KGB. That's not like a guess. That's true. So he likes a KGB agent more than the president of fucking France or whatever. Well, and that's the other thing that clearly shows that this is racist at its core, I think, is that they hate modern Europe. So they're in a difficult position here when they say, like, you read the page, like, European stock, which, by the way, whenever you call humans stock,
it's not good.
You're not a good guy. That is not a good guy. But you get what I'm saying? Like, they're happy they revolted against England, but they love Europeanism, but they hate modern Europe. So what do you like about Europe? If you don't like the current leadership, you don't like the previous leadership, it seems like there's only one thing about it you could like. I hate to be the guy who says that, but like they're just screaming it. Like when you see stuff like this, I don't know.
Right. No, they're very confused. The only people they like is their misreading of Greek philosophers. I mean, I think that's, if you actually ask them, like when you say we need to return to our white European heritage, like they would probably point to Greeks or Romans, but they obviously don't understand that philosophy whatsoever. But that's probably what they would say.
They want to go back thousands of years.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to get a handle on it all. I'm just trying. The reason why I'm being annoying about this and like really prodding on it is because it's these rare moments when they give longer speeches and they really try to like certify what they think, outside of tweets and like when they pretend to be politicians. It's very rare, especially with Trump, that he actually tries to pretend to be presidential, quote unquote. And like I feel like this speech is a good example of that. Like this is his professional outfit. This isn't a 2 a.m. Twitter screed of like, Bruce Springsteen is a grapefruit. This is like real, like him, President Trump, And I feel like, so this is what the official platform is. And I just, it's not good, guys. Like it's not good. It's really bad. It really feels like we're going back in time. But anyway, moving on, because I could talk about this all day. The Supreme Court had a big week, which you may know better than I am. Do you know why the Supreme Court just had so many rulings in one big sweep? Do they usually come in sweeps like this, or is this just just a coincidence?
I think they do often come in sweeps like this, but I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe they take vacations like Congress does.
Well, Clarence Thomas is like, probably taking it in Tel Aviv.
Yeah. Oh, we're off for 3 weeks again.
Yep, it's hot out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the cynical view would be they don't want to be harshly criticized, so they do it all at once, so things can't be picked apart as much. But yeah, there was a lot of big headlines this week, and mostly bad, some good, but even the good ones that were like 5-4 rejecting Trump's executive power in some way, it does show you how close we are to Supreme Court being completely meaningless.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the big good news one, I guess you could say, is birthright citizenship stays. Right, which means the Constitution stays, right? 6-3. The three who did not join, if they can't join in this one, can they join in anything? Right? Like, I feel like this birthright citizenship ruling couldn't be more on the nose. Whatever party you're on, just because of the way the Constitution is explicitly written. Meaning that I feel like those three, I'm trying to make sure I get it right. Thomas... Has Clarence Thomas ever not been a lapdog in anything? Like,
he's terrible.
Like, has he ever, like, not once done that thing? Is he the worst ever? Hold on, let me see who it was. So, Roberts wrote the majorities, Sotomayor, Kagan, Jackson, Kavanaugh, Barrett. So, Gorsuch was the other. It was Gorsuch, Thomas, and who was the last one? Sorry, my Supreme Court knowledge.
I'm not sure for this one. So the weird thing about this one was Kavanaugh wrote a concurring opinion.
Yes.
Where he said...
Alito. My bad. Alito. It's Alito. Yeah, sorry.
So Kavanaugh, conservative. Like, the Supreme Court is basically 6-3 conservative. But
Yes.
obviously, there's in a lot of these decisions, they end up being 6-3 or 5-4 in either direction based on the issue. But Thomas is always going to be the most right-wing possible reading of anything. But in the concurring opinion, Kavanaugh argued that the issue was Trump did an executive order without Congress writing a law. But he said all Congress would have to do is pass a law banning. So it's not like my argument, which the liberals argue, is, of course, you have to change the 14th Amendment if you want to end birthright citizenship, which was the general understanding before this current Supreme Court. Kavanaugh, even though he sided with the majority, his opinion said Congress just needs to pass a law. And obviously that's much easier than an amendment, which is 2/3, which is like impossible nowadays. So he definitely opened the door, and you obviously see Mike Johnson like pushing for this now to pass this law in the House, and they're all seizing on the Kavanaugh opinion.
Of course.
To be like, see, the Supreme Court is totally okay with us ending birthright citizenship. The issue is Trump tried to do this on a whim.
It was more of a schematic, like a mechanism issue versus a conceptual issue. That's what they're trying to say. It's just, it is so terrifying, to your point, though, that, like, for example, like, you know, if I don't think Trump will run a third time, but if, for example, if he were to run a third time, the Supreme Court would probably rule 6-3 that he can't. So it means that anything even directly written in the Constitution, 3 of them will say, I don't agree with the Constitution. Pretty much given no matter what.
Exactly.
And I think that's the problem. That's what I'm trying to get. Like, there are 3 people who will, no matter what the scenario, no matter if it's written as plain as day in the Constitution, will still say, I'll do whatever Trump wants. And I think that's just, to your point, like, that's never been the case. Even in the most egregious courts where it's so, like, 100%. Like, there's not even any chance. Even if they took the case of, should we remove freedom of the press? You know, I can't imagine Clarence Thomas going, like, oh, no, we probably should remove the freedom. Is there anything that he would not vote like that?
No, he'll just side with, like, the Republican no matter what. It's
like,
definitely the most
crazy.
partisan Supreme Court ever. And yeah, like you in their other ruling where 5-4 they blocked Trump from firing one of the Fed governors because he claims she committed mortgage fraud, which I don't really know how that's related, but also like hasn't been convicted as far as I know. And Roberts, so obviously who's conservative but is like the most swing vote of the conservatives, wrote in the opinion that if they allowed Trump to do this, it would allow the president to remove a member of the Federal Reserve at any time for any reason without any notice and without any judicial check after. So like that opinion, that's 5-4, and that just like it just shows you that at least 3, but 4 of the justices will give Trump just unlimited power, whatever he wants to do.
It's so crazy. It's also, to your point, it seems like Barrett is a little more reasonable of the Trump nominees than everyone else. She seems to be more in the Roberts vein of just like, she's not a bad actor. You know what I mean? Like, she just actually thinks a very conservative worldview of how the Constitution should be run, which is kind of how I would say with Roberts. Like, I don't think he's just like rigged. I think that this is just what how he sees it, you know? And he can be swayed, where Alito and Thomas just seem like impossible. Like they just will not budge.
Yeah. And it just makes you look back on the history of the Supreme Court when they rejected so many presidential and congressional actions that is tough to understand. They struck down parts of Obamacare because they said, you know, it was unconstitutional. And you compare that to Trump just doing whatever he wants via executive order, like doing things that absolutely should not be presidential power. It should be the power of Congress. And they're just like, nah, he can do it. Yes, it's never been done before, and it seems to directly contradict the Constitution. But now that we are reviewing it, it's okay.
Yeah, we're fine with it, yeah. Yeah. Other big ones, before we get to the really big one, was so they declined Trump's appeal of E. Jean Carroll's $5 million sex abuse and defamation case. So that settles it. I mean, Trump sexually abused E. Jean Carroll. Yeah. Like he's tried every single possible mechanism to make that so it wasn't true. And it's true. There's no other way to shake it, right? Like the president at one point abused this woman sexually.
Yeah, and just willing to use all of his power and more power than he actually has through criminal and civil courts to suppress the accusation.
The
And
truth.
it's, yeah,
now,
the
like
truth.
now it's not even an accusation. It's true. Like there's no, if you're convicted, right? And the settlement, like it happened, like what like it's over. There's no more possible avenues once the Supreme Court says no, right? Like it's
Right.
over. He's officially done it. I think.
Right.
Right? Is that true? Am I wrong with that?
I mean, the only technicality is he was found civilly liable. It wasn't a criminal prosecution.
Yes. That's true.
But yeah, the Supreme Court rejected him trying to appeal that all the way up to the Supreme Court. Yeah, and it's so terrible when you hear conservatives accuse victims of just wanting attention.
Yeah.
When they accuse these prominent male politicians of sexual abuse. Because it's her life has been a living hell the past few years. Literally, a sociopathic president is doing everything he possibly can to shut her up. And
No,
what
it's
is
unbelievable.
she getting out of it? Where are her riches? Where, you know what I mean? What benefits is she getting other than the truth coming out?
It's just so crazy that this isn't a big deal, you know?
Right.
Like, it's just, you could argue, I don't know if I would argue this, but you could argue it's a bigger deal than Epstein stuff because it's been more proven in court.
100%. And whenever guys like Trump win in civil courts, all the defenders go, see, the accuser wasn't able to prove it. That means he's innocent. But then what happens when she does prove it and he's found liable, you know?
Yeah, everyone just seems to not care. It's one of the weirdest hiccups of the Trump stuff. So many lesser things have gotten attention, and that one seems like a really big deal, and it's gotten no attention at all. It's very weird. The whole thing with E. Jean Carroll is very weird. I find it very weird. I don't understand it, from a societal level, I guess. I don't know.
Right. No, totally. So much of the opposition to the Me Too movement was their argument that these people are accusing somebody outside of a court that they could never prove in a court. And then she goes and proves it in court, and they're just ignoring.
Even the Democrats kind of ignore it. No one really talks about it. It's a very low talked about news story, in general. It just seems to be something that doesn't make the news that often. Granted, we're going to talk more about the Supreme Court stuff, but even it was one of the lesser Supreme Court stories this week, you know? And I just feel like if any president in American history had this happen when they were found liable for sex abuse and defamation, you know, that would be a huge deal.
Totally.
Do you think that would be bigger than Watergate? I mean, definitely bigger than Lewinsky, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when Clarence Thomas was nominated, obviously, he had a very famous sex abuse scandal that was at the heart of nomination.
Same with Kavanaugh.
Yeah, true. And yeah, with Clarence Thomas, I don't think he was found liable in civil court. This is definitely a level worse.
Yeah, it's really weird that this has gone under the radar. I just find this thing so weird. I know I keep rambling. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. Why this is just he gets a big pass for this. I don't get that. Anyway, some other ones before we go to the bigger one. Cell phone location data was officially ruled to be protected by the Fourth Amendment, so that's good. A rare 8-1 ruling, Alito dissenting, of course, that the law enforcement needs a warrant to obtain historical cell phone location data. This follows the 2018 Carpenter decision, so the Fourth Amendment wins, which is good.
Yeah, I was happy about this one because this wasn't about whether they can search a suspect's phone. This was about whether they can search non-suspect's phone. So the actual case was about a bank robbery in Virginia, and they wanted the location data from everybody in the bank. Just the suspects, they can obviously get a warrant easily.
Yeah, easy money.
Get everything from his phone. But this was can we just get all the data from anybody remotely close to the building at the time, which seems just an obvious Fourth Amendment violation.
It's just weird that one seems to be more sticky Like, if you had asked me in a vacuum, what is more obvious, birthright citizenship or, cell phone data protection, I would be like, oh, definitely birthright citizenship.
Right.
But apparently the Supreme Court was like definitely on that one. And they couldn't, they were very close on birthright citizenship. And the last one I want to talk about was this one about campaign financing. So effectively, the Supreme Court has now ruled that there are no caps on how much money you can give. You can now just give it straight to the politician themselves, right? And I guess the long story short of it is that you don't even need a PAC anymore. Like, you can just kind of go straight to the horse's mouth with the money, right? I mean, maybe that's oversimplifying it, but maybe you could argue that's actually a good thing because now you at least know who's donating what rather than PAC and dark money and stuff like that. But yeah, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I haven't read too much about this, but I feel the same. I mean, I think the depressing part about it, which was always the question after Citizens United, was like, do we need a new campaign finance law or do we need a new constitutional amendment? Because part of what Citizens United did was eliminate a campaign finance law that was on the books, setting limits for anonymous donations to effectively super PACs. So like organizations that aren't technically associated with the campaign, but really obviously are. I mean, you can call your super PAC MAGA for Trump.
MAGA Inc. Yeah.
It's not official.
It's insulting.
So I definitely think this points to, especially in the next 20 years, where the Supreme Court's still going to be, it's going to be conservative for the next 20 years, even if it's closer to 5-4 or whatever. Like, there's no way liberals are going to I just don't see them,
there would have to be
majority.
A death nail. They would all have to draw like a death note, like the anime. But anyway,
And it's like, one of those issues that polls so high, like 70% plus of Americans think that there should be limits. You hear so much talk on the right nowadays as well about billionaires should not be able to buy elections and all the stuff about AIPAC, obviously, on the left and the right.
And the right, yeah.
But with this Supreme Court and this ruling, like, it just shows we're going to need a constitutional amendment, which obviously it's been decades since they've successfully passed a constitutional amendment. So it's a big uphill battle to get 2/3 of Congress to support that. But, like, that's the only thing that's going to fix the campaign finance system.
And I think it's worth mentioning that it was the Republican Party who brought this to the Supreme Court. It was literally the RNC, I think, which is, again, you have heard a lot of, like, real Republicans, like people listening to this show, like, vocally be like, I hate AIPAC, I hate PACs, I don't like money in politics. Like, I'm sure you guys listening now feel that. I'm confident you guys feel that. But I do want you to remember that the Republican Party, the GOP themselves, are the party that wants these to be real. Like, they like this. Like, the GOP heard this and went, woo! Citizens United, they went, let's go! Like, not saying the Democrats don't take too much money from government, not to say the Democratic Party is innocent in any shape or form, but if you're looking at who is giving corporations what they want more, it's the right.
100%.
And it needs to be said, Like, that's what I get. I want, like, people who are listening who are conservative, which is so many people, like, you should be mad at your party more than you should be mad at the Democrats, because the Democrats are not trying to do what you want. The Republicans are supposed to be doing what you want, and they do everything you don't want. So you can be mad at both, but like, we're mad at the Democrats because we don't like that they're not representing us. It's a given that the Republicans don't represent you and me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And you're seeing this in all these primaries where the progressive challenger is saying, I don't take corporate PAC money, and they're having all this success. Like, Republicans aren't even trying to say that.
No,
like,
they'll
say,
it.
Right, I'm for the working class and everything, but, like, they don't even pretend to not take corporate money.
No, their whole platform is to take It's
Right.
They brag about it, And Democrats do it too. Like, I'm not trying to say it's one way or the other. I'm just saying, like, Thomas Massie loses because of corporate money, at least partially. Like, same with Cornyn, same with Cassidy. Like, they all got huge MAGA Inc. donations to their competitors, you know? So I don't know. I just the detachment, like I feel the detachment, hence the name Lonely Liberal, between us and the Democratic corporate establishment or whatever that even means. And I'm curious why that isn't more felt on the right, because they really are abandoning their base so significantly. And while the party itself isn't responsible for the Supreme Court ruling, the decisions they've made were. I think that's fair to say, right? Okay, lastly, before we move on to some other stuff, I actually haven't watched the Zoran speech. Did you watch the Zoran speech?
No, I read a bunch of quotes from it.
Same. It's 13 minutes long. I don't want to watch the whole thing because I think we'd get demonetized. I think we'd get yelled at for watching it. But I do think I'd want to watch the first couple of minutes just because, you know, it's always good to like see what it looks like and hear it from the man himself. Because from my takeaway from reading the quotes were, this sounds what the president should be saying, not the mayor of New York City.
Right.
Hold on. And like, I just don't understand why this is coming from him and not Trump, but I want to hear it first. You know what I mean? So let's watch a couple minutes before, and then we'll see what we think.
Good morning, my fellow Americans. Season after season, year after year, the tides have come in and out of New York Harbor. Long before the name New York had ever been spoken, Lenape dugouts crossed these currents. It was on these waters that tall masts crested the horizon, captained by explorers like Verrazano and Hudson, after whom we've named our bridges and rivers. And ever since, ships full of travelers weary from long journeys have passed through the Narrows, the winds of the Atlantic at their backs. When those passengers lifted their heads to glimpse what lies just beyond the waves, what did they see? They saw land, lush and teeming with life. They saw men waiting at the docks to take them into bondage. They saw tenements rife with squalor. They saw industry rumbling with activity, steam and smoke rising, a city on the move. They saw a towering monument to freedom, her torch glowing worldwide welcome. They saw New York City. They saw America. Tomorrow, our nation marks 250 years since we declared our independence. 250 years of a grand experiment in self-governance, an experiment so audacious that some in 1776 doubted it would last more than a few years, let alone a quarter of a millennium. From Lexington to Los Angeles, Selma to Seneca Falls, Morrisania to Midwood, Americans will come together for a day, just as we do each year. Families will gather around the grill. Fireworks will fill the night sky. This will be no ordinary day of celebration. 250 years presents a rare opportunity for more than 340 million people to turn together, both towards one another and towards ourselves, to take measure of who we are as a nation. When we look at America, what do we see? Here at City Hall, as I sit behind George Washington's desk, alongside new Americans who came to this country, I cannot see all of America. But like so many who came before, I can see New York City. The city I see today looks very different than the one that greeted George Washington. In July of 1776, our city simmered under the yoke of oppression. The British had imposed a colonial rule so repressive that 250 years ago, 80 miles south, a small group of newspaper editors, farmers, and soldiers signed their names on a document declaring truths that feel self-evident now, but were revolutionary then.
I mean, I could watch this all day. This is great, right? Like, should we just well, I don't know. Like, what do you want to do? I encourage people to watch it. I'm going to watch it later. But yeah,
for sure. I mean, even the first line, "Dear my fellow Americans," instead of saying "Dear my fellow New Yorkers," is a very interesting choice.
Big time.
Right. And now he can't run for president, and actually recently said, when asked, he does not want to try to change the law about you have to be born in America to run for president. He became a citizen in 2018. So just to quiet all the, people saying, oh, he's clearly running for president. But
yeah, exactly.
If that wasn't the case, I would say he does seem to be running for president. But
for sure.
He really is. He seems to be seizing the moment in the way that we wanted Obama to, and Obama never lived up to it. Like, Obama was such a good candidate, like Zoran was, but once he got in office, he wasn't able to translate that into like accomplishing that much. And I feel like Mamdani has like learned that lesson. And he's like, I am one of the most popular politicians in America right now. Like, I'm going to become that guy, you know?
It's so true. And it's two factions of the country in a lot of ways. It's not all of the country, but it's two of them, which is on one hand, you have Trump, right, doing his thing, bragging and rambling about how horrible communists are and Democrats and how they're Democrats. And then you have this guy, you know what I mean? Like, who kind of like acting like a real politician, acting like a real leader, it has to be, because I completely agree with you. And obviously we're both, I credit Obama for getting me into politics, right? Like Obama is a big, if I could make a short list of people who I'd want to meet, Obama would be on that list. I do think though, and obviously his job was harder as president versus mayor of New York City. I'm not trying to say it's 1-to-1, but I do think though it's partly two things. One is Obama was effectively neutered by both Republicans, but I think even more importantly, corporate money. The thing about Zoran, and I think the thing that's refreshing about candidates in his mold, whether you agree with them or not, from Platner to Tallarico to even people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Massey, who I don't agree with, who are now no longer going to be in office, they actually believe what they're saying, and I can never fault anyone, even if I don't agree with them, for just doing what they think is right, even if I think it's wrong. And I just feel like the thing with Obama is you always had this feeling that he was holding back, And he didn't really want to do that, but he had to. He didn't really want to say it like this, but he had to. And I just think people are sick of it, And I think Trump gives the illusion that he is doing what he wants. And in a lot of ways he is. But I think what people misunderstand is that to get what he wants, he has to do the biddings of others, which is where the real destruction comes from, more so than his random vanity projects. So I think ultimately it's more of a indictment on, can someone say something actually, when last year when Bernie and AOC were on tour on their, Fight America tour, I forget what it was called, and it was great, it was getting huge, they were selling out arenas. One thing you and I often on air pondered was, why are they the only two really going on tour? Why aren't the other guy, the guy from Connecticut, why are these guys not coming with them? They seem like smart people, why aren't they doing it? And they literally can't.
Right.
Why isn't Chuck Schumer saying a speech? Hakeem Jeffries is actually the minority house leader.
Right.
He should give a speech. Chuck Schumer should give a speech. It shouldn't come from Zoran, actually. And it's just the cowardice of Jeffries and Schumer is hard to put into words, given the amount of responsibility and desperate need of leadership the country feels right now. That the fact that we have to pull it out of the New York mayor is really unfortunate.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that I think Mamdani feels a responsibility to be the anti-Trump leader of the country. And it's not his responsibility.
No.
He's a brand new mayor of a city.
Exactly.
He has zero power outside of New York, other than speeches and rhetoric and popularity and that stuff, but zero actual power. Yeah, people are desperate right now.
It's really sad in a lot of ways that why don't they give the speech? You know what I mean? People may say, a lot of Democrats that I talk to will say, well, Zoran can only work in New York. It's a progressive place. This wouldn't work in Iowa. This wouldn't work in Michigan. This wouldn't work in Wisconsin. This is just a very progressive guy in a very progressive place. And that's why, and they might be right. I'm not even going to argue that, yes or no. I'm more arguing the leadership skills, totally policy aside, totally platform aside. I'm not saying anything about what he's politically standing. I'm just talking about having the responsibility to deliver a message of this is how we're going to handle this. It shouldn't matter what your right? You know what I mean? It shouldn't matter what the policies are. It's about having charisma and leadership skills.
Right. No, 100%. And and that's what pre-Trump presidents saw their number one responsibility was to be a leader of the country, regardless of people's views. Trump's the only one in recent history that doesn't try to be the leader of the country. He's the leader of MAGA. That's that.
Not even all of Republicans, just MAGA.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
He's had endless opportunities to try to unite the country, and he does the complete opposite every single time. And it's actually his favorite thing to do is divide people more.
Yeah, he gets off on it.
Right.
In every shape or form. Yeah, it's just any senator could have come up and said something. Like, where are they? Any one of them. Cory Booker. Dude, you gave a 13-hour speech and you, like, shit your pants on stage. Literally, like you had to pee in a bucket. Where's your 20-minute speech? You know? I don't know.
Right. Like, how are there not more AOCs leading the party?
Like, not even in policy, just like in like brave, like in courage and like speaking
Right.
skills. You know what I mean? Like where are they? Like, why isn't Schumer saying like, this is what I think, you know, we're going to do this. Like, we're going to like, even if I think he's a stick in the mud and out of like, where's the balls? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
why is Zoran the only one with any guts? Like, say something, and it makes you go, they can't say something because they're bought out. See, they're hacks too. They're no worse than the Republicans. Why does anyone even vote anyway? This is why people are apathetic. I genuinely think this. It's these moments subconsciously that trickle into their head that make them think that it's just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, 100%. People, you need somebody to vote for and to get behind more than just, we don't like Trump.
It can't just be them with their placard. Tyranny. Like, you know what I mean? Democracy dies in darkness. Like, it just can't be that. Like, dude, say something. you know what I mean? Like, do something. Like, just, and I just think that, yeah, anyways, it makes me sad that we have to now have a New York mayor of 7 months. It's the only guy who could have any courage whatsoever. Like,
Right.
I like Pete Buttigieg. Where was he? Where are these guys? I like these guys too. Like, you know?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. It's a lack of balls and it's a lack of charisma. And you need both. Obama had all the charisma, and I think once he get into office, we were hoping for a little more chutzpah than
I mean, you could argue, what the hell is he doing? He's
100%.
Like, say something.
He's the most popular politician in the country.
And the best public speaker in the country. Do something.
And he's younger than the party's leaders. Still.
Say something.
20 years after getting elected president, he's still younger than the Democratic leader in the Senate.
Dude, 84-year-old Bernie, whatever, 82-year-old Bernie's the only guy?
I think he's like 85, 86.
Dude, what are we doing? Say something. Do something. It's just 2 years in, they're banking on nothing. Dude,
Right.
We're going to play This is Trump this week, talking before his speech, talking to AI Teddy Roosevelt. This is what we're competing against, and none of you could say anything? Hold on. It's just like, guys, fucking come on. This is your competition. What? This is who you're competing. And also, Doug Burgum, again. Can we get rid of this guy, the Secretary of Interior? He's everywhere now. I feel like they keep trotting him out.
Your greatest achievement?
Well. Right then, yes. The canal stands as one of my proudest battles, no question. But greatness is a strange thing. It isn't always the biggest or boldest job that matters most. The Panama Canal showed what America could achieve if we held steady and acted fast when the world dragged its feet. Every day, a president faces storms most people never see. If you keep your nerve and remember the nation comes first, you get through. I know you know that feeling yourself.
Well, I appreciate those words. Those words are fantastic. And I just want to say it's an honor to be with you today. We are making a little bit of a tour, some of the fantastic things you've done. You consider the Panama Canal?
It's such a sad state of affairs.
And look, I don't actually think he thought he was talking to Teddy Roosevelt. But if Biden did that,
oh my God.
Everyone would be saying Biden thinks he's talking to Teddy Roosevelt.
It would be.
So it's fair play to say Dementia Donnie thinks he's talking to Teddy Roosevelt.
And you think Rick's being harsh? You think Rick's being a little too mean? Well, let us ask Donald.
I had a conversation with Theodore Roosevelt. He said, what did you think about the Panama Canal? Do you consider that your greatest achievement? How do you feel about the fact that the Democrats gave the Panama Canal away to Panama for $1? You know, he built the Panama Canal, preceded really by a man who's he was the tariff king, William McKinley. He was the president, and They took his name off Mount McKinley, and I put it back on because it was
It's so
And
funny.
the crowd cheers who's never heard the name McKinley in their entire lives.
I mean, also, it just cracks me up because we literally watched the clip. He didn't ask about the Democrats taking away the thing. And so we watched it. He can't even tell the truth about an AI conversation he had with like, he lies so much that it's like unbelievable that he can't even tell a story about his conversation with AI Teddy Roosevelt that's being filmed. Honestly,
Yeah.
he's so sick.
And it's so unsurprising that he thinks the Panama Canal would be Teddy Roosevelt's biggest accomplishment. Obviously, I'm not saying it's not an accomplishment, but this is like one of the best presidents of all time. And just because it's like real estate related, Trump is like, this has to be what he's most proud of.
He would be disgusted if he heard about the trust busting
Yeah.
or the national parks. I mean, it's just a sad state of affairs. Yeah. And in fact, Teddy Roosevelt, of course, for our history buffs, ended up having to make his own party because he was so sick of money in politics, the Bull Moose Party. I think he may have been the closest third party person to ever winning a presidency, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think a Whig ever got in.
No. I mean, Ross Perot did surprisingly well in the 90s, but he didn't win states. So, like, he wasn't close to winning. But, like, popular vote, he did well.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other things too we could talk about. Iran talks. I don't know. They're the biggest tease of 24. They're such a tease. Right. I can't. We can't. Yeah, nothing. If in case you're wondering, where's Iran? Nothing.
Yeah, the big thing this week was they had the funeral for the Ayatollah that was killed.
Yeah, and the son didn't go. Adding mystery if he's even still alive still, because no one's actually seen him. Like, other than the Iranians. He may not be alive. I mean, everyone else died of his family and friends. Which, what a move by Iran if they're just, like, playing that secret. Because if they didn't, then they could have a revolution. They're like, no, trust me, he's still back here. They're going full Wizard of Oz. It's a good idea.
Wheel out an AI Ayatollah.
Trump wouldn't know. I am Ayatollah. It's an honor. I've never, what a great honor it is to meet you. Trump would just be like, I love your body. He'd call him handsome because he can't help himself. He's a good looking guy.
Yeah, I'm shocked he didn't comment on AI Teddy's appearance.
He can't help himself. I'm going to bang out a couple of more weirder stories this week for the hell of it. So Representative Thomas Keene Jr. Explained why he hasn't been in Congress for the last few months. He said it was because he was depressed. He's a Republican from New Jersey, I think. Fairly moderate Republican. I mean, what does that mean in 2026? But moderate in this world. It's kind of interesting, though, a House Republican being, openly discussing being treated for severe depression, so depressed that he can't do his job. I wonder if other Republicans will hold hands and give him support.
No. Boebert, or friend of the show, sarcastically, I, for one, have been marked safe from depression today. She mockingly told TMZ, quote, I think it's embarrassing. I mean, sure, like, take care of yourself, get healthy, but who gets to take 4 months off of work because they're sad? That sounds like a quote from 50 years ago.
Could be. Or you can close your eyes and throw a dartboard and hit any conservative in the federal government, and they would probably say the same thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I obviously support the representative for taking the time off.
Yeah, of course.
I do think he could have disclosed it during the time off. I don't think necessarily completely disappearing for 100 days and refusing to say why you're gone is maybe the right approach. Like, if you want mental illness to be treated without the stigma and in the same way we treat physical illness, like, why not say it 50 days in?
Yeah,
why?
It's weird.
Like, yeah.
It's weird to keep it secret.
Because it was completely fair to ask where the hell he was for the past 4 months.
He just disappeared.
Because he refused to comment. Like, not having, like, why couldn't his press secretary say he's dealing with severe mental health issues and will be back soon? It just led to a lot of theories, and then, like, it makes somebody like me feel bad for saying, like, where the hell was he? But, like, if he was really committed to ending the stigma, I feel like he could have handled it a little bit better, honestly. But, like, in the end, I support him,
Totally. I mean, again, it's always a difficult spot when these types of things happen, being like on the left, because you know that the right would never give a person this degree of empathy and sympathy, and you just have to be the bigger person. But it's hard to not remember that if literally any Democratic rep did this exact same thing, they would get shamed out of office.
Right.
They would be bullied. Oh my God, can you imagine how much bullying Trump would have if a Democrat didn't show up because he was depressed? By the whole, they'd be on Fox News killing him. They'd be getting murdered out there for doing this. And it's hard to not remember that. But of course, we have to, just be like, all right, you have to stick to the messaging. But it just
also
sucks.
they're so intent on cutting healthcare from Americans that
exactly.
While it's for sure hypocritical, and I don't think it's out of bounds to point that out, that the different standards that these people have for themselves versus a working class American.
I mean, they mocked Hunter Biden forever.
Right,
because of his drug addiction. Yeah. And when he said it was a deep illness, everyone laughed in his face and said his father should arrest him.
Right. They find cocaine in the bathroom in the White House, and they're like, it must be Hunter's, not Trump's cokehead sons.
Or his ketamine Doge staff. Right. It's so weird. And I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to not remember that these are the same people that, when Simone Biles says, I don't want to compete because I'm feeling anxious, they call her a coward and a disgrace to this country. Yeah, I don't know. But whatever. Hope this guy's all right. Paul Pelosi was involved with a hit and run. Nancy Pelosi's 86-year-old husband was hit and run, and apparently it was pretty bad. I got to tell you, and I mean this with all due respect, these Pelosi's just need to go away. I hope he's all right. I think it's time for them to call it. They need to be checked into a home and just left alone under maximum security. I don't want to hear the name Pelosi ever again. I think I'm done.
No, and he hit a parked car and drove away. Was not, did a breathalyzer, was not drunk, no alcohol in his system. The press release about it says he admitted to hitting something, but said he didn't know what he hit, so he kept driving until his car became disabled and was no longer able to continue driving. So it's the crash was bad enough to ruin his car, but he kept driving.
He goes, I don't know what's going on. I just couldn't tell you what's going on. He's too old to be driving. 86? Get out of the car. Go to bed. These people need to get out of our life. I'm sick of these guys. Whatever. Arrest Paul. Speaking of old bags of bones that should probably be gone, Mitch McConnell had, I think, a cardiac arrest this weekend or late June. Paramedics responded to a report of cardiac arrest from an unconscious person at his known address. Apparently, the statement released that day from his office. Senator McConnell is still working closely with staff on Senate business and Kentucky matters as he continues his recovery. I think it's time for old Turtle to crawl into his shell for this one final go. This guy has been ruining my life pretty much my entire adult life. I think we're ready to call it.
Yeah. He's been the Republican leader in the Senate since 2007, and he's been in the Senate since 1985. He was in his mid-40s, by the way, in 1985.
Yep.
It's not like he was a 25-year-old.
He wasn't some spring chicken. No, he was halfway through it.
One interesting thing about this was, so he was allegedly found unconscious or into cardiac arrest. Allegedly, CPR had to be done. 3 days later, his wife traveled to China to meet with China's vice president.
Huh, that's weird.
That seems like a trip you might postpone while your husband is literally fighting for his life.
Gotta meet with the Chinese government. Mitch McConnell is a sad man, in a sad state of affairs. And
he deserves so much of the blame for where we are.
I don't feel bad for him. I know it's bad. I have empathy a lot of the times. This guy was a son of a bitch. This guy really caused a lot of problems.
Yeah, and I mean, he is retiring, but he should have retired 20 years ago.
None of these guys should get, if this is what they think an effective government is until they literally die, they just go until death. I mean, what are we doing here? But yeah, anyways, Mitch, I'm sure he'll somehow survive. I'm sure he'll drink unicorn blood and come back. That guy's indestructible. Trump did a bunch of pardoning this week. 11 more pardons. one for a Republican congressman convicted of campaign finance violations, a prison guard convicted of civil rights violations, 3 convicted federal firearms offenses, and a Clean Air Act violator. So a company who dumped hazardous waste in Michigan. They all got a pardon, because of course they did. You can buy them online, pardonme.trump.gov. They really do. They sell them. That's not even a joke. Like, they do sell. Yeah, that's something. I guess for a culture thing, we got to talk about it. Miss Swift's big wedding. She got married this week. I don't think it's crazy to say that Taylor Swift is the most influential non-American public figure right now. Would you agree with that? Sorry, non-political public figure.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think she's...
Who else?
I think she's the biggest performer and musician since Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess like Kim Kardashian, right? Like she could maybe, like it's either her. I think Swift has Kim beat right now.
100%.
Like non-politician who's more influential than Taylor Swift.
Right.
I also think Beyonce. No, like.
And she's kept it at that level for 20 years, which Kim has not kept her.
No, she ebbs and flows. Yeah. And Beyonce is probably up there. Like if you had to make a short list.
Yeah.
For a while, it was Oprah, I would have said.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah probably had a good run for a long, long time. Joe Rogan, maybe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are the guys I would put in the contest. But I think Taylor has the devotion of her fans, though, more than I think even the biggest Rogan fans have. Like, Rogan can't sell out arenas the way Taylor can.
No, definitely not. I mean, also his comedy sucks. So that's a big...
Taylor's way better at music than Rogan is at comedy. Yeah, that's true.
It's
Rogan
so funny how...
sucks.
It's so funny, like, how, like, 90% of his podcast fan base admits that, too. They're like, oh, yeah, I would never see a stand-up.
This guy fucking sucks. Yeah, I mean, it was a big deal. 1,000 guests in Madison Square Garden. Obviously, she married Travis Kelce, future Hall of Famer, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Funny enough, Adam Sandler was the officiant. I didn't even know they were friends.
Yeah, that's a curveball.
I'm sure we'll be able to buy tickets to this and see it in theaters eventually because Taylor never misses a opportunity to make a buck.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be a Netflix doc for sure, at the very least.
Is Taylor Swift the best capitalist in the country right now? Like, because I think she embodies capitalism perfect. Like, she's used her real skills of music and marketing, which are elite. She has elite level skills in that department and made as much money as humanly possible based off of. Like, she's the best at that. No one is better at making money off their music skills, definitely, than her.
Yeah, I really think the only comparison is Michael Jackson, but from before our time, before his scandals, obviously. But in terms of, like, influence, just anything he does, just printed money.
Yeah.
You know, I recently watched a Netflix documentary on him, so he's in my head, but like he had like hundreds and hundreds of employees all over the world for like
team.
It's like Taylor Swift, like it's a huge operation. How much is she worth?
Billions.
Nowadays.
Over
it's got to be billions. Yeah.
And she's just so good at somehow monetizing every single thing. She does it, and because a lot of the times when people do that, like you know, she'll sell 7 versions of the same single and make an act like each one is the last chance anyone will ever have to listen to that song. And usually when people go that route, they get a lot of like blowback to some extent from their fan base, to some extent. Like maybe not totally, but you know, you and I were big Red Hot Chili Peppers fans for a long, long time still, you know, but like the more commercially they got, people would say, oh, you know, this isn't like the real stuff. Like, and like, you know, Black Keys, like whenever an act gets popular, like the Arctic Monkeys right now, the Strokes, you know, AM is not really a real, you know what I mean? Like you always get that section of fan bases, yet Taylor is good at avoiding that. She's made it seem like, no. This is this is how I'm doing it. And yeah, I give her nothing but her credit. I think I personally feel like if you're a hater at her point, it's just like, you got to kind of tip your hat. She did it. She's undeniable. Totally. She did it. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. So I give her full credit. A little ridiculous though. 1,000-person wedding in Mars. Give me a break.
Yeah. And like the whole discussion of like the concert ticket prices, it is a nuanced discussion because it's so complicated because it gets into like Live Nation Ticketmaster's monopoly on controlling pretty much all the concerts and comedy shows in the country. But like, there are ways to suppress the price of tickets.
Yeah.
So like, I do that some artists do and some artists don't do. Obviously, somebody like Paul McCartney, who's like probably the only comparable performer to Taylor Swift internationally, I would say, that's still
For sure.
alive.
Yeah.
Like, he obviously doesn't do anything to suppress tickets, and it's $2,000 to get, nosebleeds, just like with Taylor. So I definitely don't blame them. But like, when a really famous person goes out of their way to say, like, I will not perform here unless you make tickets 100 or less, like, I do admire.
100%. I mean, you saw Phoebe Bridgers, who, is the lead of Boy Genius, and fame of, a Taylor Swift, maybe child. Taylor Swift also has an incredible, like, people who have opened for her blowing up. I mean, what a track record that woman has. She is just, it's hard to know chicken and the egg is, do they blow up because of her endorsement, or does she just find stars? Hard to say. I wouldn't bet against her system, though, whatever it is. Phoebe Bridgers being one of them, obviously made Boy Genius, which is a, pretty big group. She did a concert in Madison Square Garden a few weeks ago, and she sold all the tickets for $1, which I thought was really cool,
That's awesome.
And I just wish that would happen more. I feel sad that concerts in general have just gotten so cartoonish in pricing. That like people just can't, like kids specifically. Like you and I went to so many concerts in high school. Like, dude, we could have never afforded these shows if we were in high school now.
Right. Because they've outpaced inflation like many times over.
100%.
Like shows that we went to 15 to 20 years ago that were $30, like inflation would say they would be $50 today, but they're like over 100.
$150, $200. Like, and we were seeing big acts at real places, Like we saw Kings of Leon at the height of their powers probably for like $50 in like a real venue. Like, you know what I mean? Not just like in some shack venue, like a big venue. And like now those tickets for a band that famous of that size would be $500 for those seats. And like a 17-year-old can't afford that. Like they just can't go. So like I feel really sad because like I feel like this in general about a lot of things, like Pokemon cards are just getting crazy with scalpers, like, trading cards and sports cards in general, like are that. Concerts are like that. Like kids are getting priced out of a lot of like really fun stuff.
Totally.
And it's just so sad. You can't even get Pokemon cards anymore. They're not even a thing. You can't go. You go to Target, they're gone. Like they get scalped. It's weird. It's weird. Like it's just a shame. Like what if like video game systems get bought up by bots and then resold on eBay for triple the price? Like you can't even buy stuff. Xbox dude, did you know that they just raised the prices of the PlayStation? The PlayStation 5, which came out years ago, is now selling for $800.
That's crazy.
Dude, the new Mario Kart game, which I bought because I'm a Nintendo lapdog, was $80 for the game. You buy 10 games, it's 10, 12 games, it's $1,000. Right. Like, you need thousands of dollars now to play video games. It's crazy. That used to be like nothing.
Yeah. And people always go, yeah, inflation's been crazy. Inflation isn't X in 20 years.
No. They're ripping us off. It's a scam.
Inflation's like since the 90s.
It's so fucked up. I talked about this on Wednesday's show. The tariff, they do this all the time. Remember where all the companies go, oh, we have to raise the prices, the tariffs, I'm so sorry. And then they all are getting refunds and the prices stay high.
Right.
Remember during the pandemic, our supply chains. And they raise the price. Everyone goes, okay, I guess the pandemic. And then what do? They keep them up.
Yeah.
They don't bring them down. It's so awful. It's way worse than inflation. Just the pandemic price hikes and the tariff price hikes have raised costs 25% over the last 3 years. Like, that's pure margin for these companies. That isn't inflation. That's just margin.
Right.
Sorry. It just fucking pisses me off, dude. I'm sick of it. I feel bad for kids, though. That's really who I feel bad for.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, we got to go to concerts. Kids don't get to go to concerts anymore. Noah Kahan, who I don't particularly like, but, like, is really huge and a major artist, is coming to Fenway next week. His tickets are $1,000, $400. Like, he's an artist meant for... I wouldn't be shocked if most of his fans are teens or, like, low 20s. Like that's a huge chunk of his fan base. I'd bet money on, Definitely. They're all priced out. That's sad. It shouldn't be just 45-year-olds making 10% on a flip. I don't know. It's a sign of a sad state of economy. Like, if a country doing well, there isn't a black market for Pokemon cards. Like, that isn't a sign of...
Right. And it shouldn't be an upper class, especially music, shouldn't be an upper class only thing.
It's like the NFT stuff has trickled into real life, where everyone's like trying to make a quick buck reselling stuff.
Yeah.
In every facet of society.
Definitely.
It's fucked up, man. This stuff pisses me off. That bugs me a lot because I feel like you said, everything always gets more expensive. Like, that just, back in mind, you could buy a movie ticket for a quarter. Like, that's just, we're doing a version of that, but it is artificially high comparatively to what is normal. Anyway, we've been on for a while. You got anything before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it.
Good app.
Yeah, great app.
Oh, I guess we should mention, if you've made it this long, you're a pretty lonely liberal loyalist, an LLL. We will, I don't feel like there's a very, very, very good chance the Lonely Liberal podcast will be on the road in a couple of weeks, interviewing one of the pretty prominent progressive figures in their home state. We'll keep it a surprise, but it's a big guy. It's a big, damn it, I already gave away. It's a big one. But yeah, we'll see Lonely Liberal on the road. We're going to be making a t-shirt. So if the clips that we come out with have any chance of getting viral, people will know. They're just going to be a blank shirt that says Lonely Liberal. So I appreciate if none of you want to buy them, because you don't want to announce to the world that you're that.
You don't want people throwing tomatoes at you while you walk down the street?
Literally saying every slur under the sun. Let Rick and I eat your sin. But if you want a Lonely Liberal t-shirt, it wouldn't be the merch I'd make for style. It's just for brand recognition. But yeah, we'll be rush ordering those bad boys because we'll be on the road. Maybe next week we'll be able to 100% confirm it, and we can see if you guys have questions that you'd want us to ask, because we'll be interviewing. It won't be a huge interview. It'll be like, I think 15, 20 minutes based off what I'm getting. But, I want to make sure our audience gets a voice in these things. media@thelonelyliberal.com. And also, if you have a candidate you want us to interview, let us know. You are a trooper. You made it an hour and 40 minutes. Into this show. I always like anyone who makes it to the end of these. I'm like, damn, they're real ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're fucking awesome.
They're in Cape Cod traffic probably.
Yeah, they're at the gym beating up their steering wheel. They're about to run out of the car and just say, "Run me over." No, but they're heroes, and I love them. Or they fell asleep and they listen to this, and it's just going on to no
Hey,
one.
we'll take the view.
Oh yeah, man. Make sure you like and subscribe. Anyway, all right, Rick. I'll talk to you later, man.
See you later.
See you, dude.